What's good, y'all? It's your guy Bendu, and welcome to an episode of Tox Talk. And today I'm here with a couple of friends. Just go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
Shareef Snuggs coming out of New York City.
Hey, NYC.
Ricky Dunlop, also known as Ricky Rants on the Twitter and the YouTube, also in New York City.
Okay.
And you can just call me Mrs. Carter, and I'm from Michigan.
All right. So yeah, it's good to have you guys on the show today. And today we're here to talk Medicare for all and specifically about the march. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk to you guys specifically about, I saw the video that you guys posted, man, of you guys doing the protest, going to AOC's office and everything. Of course, she didn't answer the door because she doesn't have guts, but she wasn't there. So if you guys could just tell me about that, man. What inspired, you guys to do that? Because it was honestly dope to see.
So one of the reasons why I wanted Ricky on to the show, because Ricky and I have gone to AOC's office already prior to that video. We never really had video content. We took some photos before, but we never actually had real video footage of us just filming us knocking on the door, being there, protesting, handing out flyers. So that video was powerful. It was in the sense that we actually got enough people to want to work with us more because they got inspired. So that happened through the fact that it was just us, me and Ricky, just the two of us, just doing this on our own, not really having many people with us. Once people really started to see us out there, then it really started to snowball. And then we got other people involved, like Alan, that he's also working with us to push for the march, and other people that working with us as well. Ricky also continue to tell you, more on that as well. But it just really got to the point where people just got fed up, and they're looking for other people to be involved. And when they saw that we're involved, they wanted to step up.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We've noticed this throughout the pandemic. There's been kind of a drop off of interacting with constituents all across the board, especially with Democrats, more than conservatives even. No one shows up to the offices. Oftentimes you can't even get someone on the phone. You can't even get an email returned. They have just literally cut people off. And, they use COVID as an excuse, but, if they have people working from home, they can still at least try, and they're not. They pretend like they are. They're like, oh, someone will get back to you, blah, blah, blah. But it's just not true. And actually, of the three offices that you guys, because I was on with you that day where you visited AOC's office and did the die-in. But the one office that you went to that had someone there was a Republican's office. So it's interesting to see that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely interesting to see that.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things that I've been noticing, because there's been a couple, people that follow my channel and everything. Like I've seen videos where they've called AOC's office. They had one guy, I forget what his name is. I think it's Skeptical Mantis, if I'm not mistaken. He ran into her at some event or something like that, and you just see him standing right next to her, asking her about forced to vote and everything, and she's just completely ignoring him, straight up. You can clearly hear him. He's right there next to you, and you're not saying anything. So it's it's all, in my opinion, it's all just bullshit. They're all bullshitters.
For sure.
And
and people are starting to see that. I think any other year, if we didn't have COVID, I don't think we would have had as much traction. I think now, because COVID is more revealing, this is the great unmasking, not just for the reset that's actually happening, but also more people becoming more aware that your politician doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, definitely. So just to get, I guess, just to get a little, deeper into it, what makes you, what is you guys' personal story for, doing this, for getting involved with this? If you could just explain that to the audience, because I feel like that would be something, we all want to know. We all have a reasoning why, we got into this fight. So we could just go into that.
Yeah, I would say, long story short, the first big reason why I got involved was Bernie Sanders last year, when he said now's not the time for talk about Medicare for all. So that was a big kind of eye opener for me, because I felt oh my God, if Bernie Sanders is saying now's not the time, that's a red flag. That's scary. you need, like, Medicare for all should have been front and center as soon as this pandemic happened, and it took a backseat. So that was the first indicator. So I didn't go out there and protest right away or get involved right away. That was the first indicator. Like most people was like, well, there's probably a strategy here. There's a play here, right? I was playing devil's advocate. Like, there's probably something here. So like most people, I stayed home, practiced social distancing, wearing a mask, all that kind of stuff. And then when forced to vote happened, and then Jimmy Dore brought up a great argument, I said, okay, this is the play. This is probably what's going to happen. It's probably in the background. And then AOC spit in our face, and then other politicians obviously spit in our face, but not even like taking that suggestion that the American people asked for and doing it. We're not even saying that we wanted you to win. We're just saying that come in solidarity, push your floor votes, let's get it out there. They wouldn't even want to do that. So that for me got me involved and to go out there and protest. So I joined the Moving for People's Party Slack. I joined the Forced to Vote Slack. I joined the whole Washington Slack. I joined other people's organizations, joined their Slack channels, specifically get involved, let's figure out ways where we can do something, because I just felt like that's so beyond the pale to not even like ignore that many people.
Yeah, and I would say, I would take it even a step further from what you said. Not only did specifically AOC not just ignore us, she actually, like, we saw her go full Democrat and weaponize her following against people who were criticizing her. Like, I don't know if you guys read the whole Max Blumenthal story he put out recently and everything, but it's like, I feel like that is a fallout of what she did, like basically weaponizing censorship in a way to silence people who are criticizing her for not basically doing what she swore to do. So it's like, it's not even like, I think Dylan Radigan says this a lot on Jimmy Dore's show. It's not even we're not even at the point of them just ignoring us. Like, our government is like openly hostile towards us right now, and it's like, it's kind of crazy to see. And like, I guess one of the things, because the last time we talked, and Shelly can attest to this, like, the only thing that's honestly giving me hope right now, like, you guys gave me hope with the whole direct democracy initiative and everything. Yeah, that's the
thank you.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's giving me hope, because I'm like, dude, like, I was never somebody that leaned on politicians like, oh, they're going to do the right thing. Like, not like I basically grew up being raised like politicians are bullshit. You just pick the one that's less full of shit. But it's like, damn, like, I can't right now, like, and people may call me crazy, I can't tell the difference between like an AOC or a Ted Cruz right now. Honestly, you guys are all garbage right now.
And it's funny too. A lot of people give like Jimmy Dore shit for saying that AOC is no different than Nancy Pelosi, and I understand why some people are mad, but I understand the end result is still the same. If you're still being ignored, you're being ignored. You know what I mean? So whether you want to say on policy, one's better than the other, the rhetoric doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what matters is, does that person get help? If that person's not getting help, it doesn't really matter who's coming from, how you want to put the language of who's worse than the other. That just, at that point, that person needing help doesn't care. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So Ricky, well, if you could just go into your, like, what got you into the Medicare for All fight as well?
I kind of got more into being political in 2016 when Bernie first ran. I remember seeing his platform and going, oh, well, this is not what we usually get from a presidential candidate that has traction. And he got really popular really fast. And I was like, oh, okay, there's something here. And I was like, okay, this never happens. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity to get someone who's talking about things that we never see on the national stage, right? So I went to some rallies and stuff like that, and I got more political then. I did some protests here and there, not crazy, not a lot of activism, I'll put it that way. And then when that kind of fell apart, I got, I went back into my little hole, I guess. I was like, oh man, politics really is a dirty game, because we know that was all BS. But then I kind of followed it, over the last several years. And then when COVID hit, like, it struck a chord. I was like, all right, this is really, really bad, because now I literally see politicians working for corporations and taking advantage of people. I think the big one that really hit me was the CARES Act, which literally just funneled tons of money to corporations and essentially bankrupted Americans without them even knowing, because it didn't take their money. It literally diluted the money supply. It gave tons of money, free money to corporations. And it was not transparent at all. And the House Democrats did a silent vote on it, so you don't even know who voted for it. And we assume like most, if not all of them did. And they all kind of like, we're like, I wish it was better, but we did the best we could. And that's
my guess is only that the one dude who was trying to force an actual vote, the one Kyle, I think his name's like Kyle Massey, I think, something like that. He might have been the only one that voted no.
Oh, right, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So yeah, man, the CARES Act was definitely like a big that was, so I was in the midst, of just the whole political escape, just watching. I think that was still even before I started the show, I believe, but watching that go down, like, because I was too young to understand, the financial crisis and everything, and when Obama did his thing, but watching this go down, and at the time, like, still kind of being, because I used to be a former Trump supporter, so like seeing Trump do this, I was like, that was one of the nails in the coffin for me, and then the whole Iran situation, everything as well too, but this was like, oh yeah, this guy's a bullshitter, which I now looking back, I'm like, why? What was I thinking? Like, why did I see through that shit from the beginning? But yeah, and that just kind of solidified it, that even the progressives I did like AOC and Bernie, because I wasn't like a Trump supporter. I was like, oh, I don't like like I was just I didn't realize I was, more left-minded until like I realized, oh, I like Trump because he would every now and then talk about, single payer healthcare. He would talk about at the time, because I'm not a China hawk anymore, but cracking down on China and doing certain things. So, but yeah, man. So I could definitely relate to that with the CARES Act and everything. So I guess one of the things you also talked about was how COVID, man, like it felt like a big wake up call, man. Like it just felt like something that you can't, like, Americans can't ignore anymore. And it was kind of like the great unmasking, as in my opinion, Force the Vote was as well. So if you guys could just speak to that, like, what was your, like, I guess, first thoughts when COVID, struck, and the whole healthcare situation got exposed, basically?
Well, it's really bad. It's really, really bad here. It was bad before, and we saw that it's absolutely horrible. There was a report that recently came out that said over a third of the deaths, the COVID deaths, would have been preventable probably if we had Medicare for all. So that's a huge, huge number. That's hundreds of thousands of people. That's just really, really depressing to even think about. So yeah, COVID. I mean, the way we handled the whole thing too was very suspicious. And I think we're going to learn more about what happened this past year as people start digging deeper. I think there was some sketchy stuff going on that was, beyond, our broken healthcare system, but it really did expose how bad everything is. Communication,
Right.
The way that a lot of these governors have gutted these hospital systems. Cuomo did that in New York. He literally gutted our hospitals, and then now we can't take care of people. And it's like, come on, man, it's ridiculous. Yeah. And then when Force the Vote comes along, you think these progressives that ran on Medicare for all have so much firepower at that point, look at our country. Everyone's dying. Now's the time to go in there. AOC has been very critical of Pelosi. She's been very outspoken. And she ran on Medicare for all. That was top of her list. I'm here in New York, like Shareef, and we know that she ran on like abolish ICE, Medicare for all, Green New Deal. Those were her things. Right. And then this comes along and people are putting pressure on her, and Force the Vote is literally like forcing a vote is literally in the DSA handbook, literally in their handbook. She's right. DSA, right? So this is not like some foreign idea. It's not even crazy. It's not even like Jimmy Dore's a genius. No, it's not. It's like, this is something people have talked about. This is a real strategy. And she like made everyone feel like she tried to like belittle people. I feel like she was like, you don't understand what we go through. It's like backroom deals, and you don't understand strategy, and it's just she's kind of condescending. And
it's very condescending.
Her closest supporters kind of like echo that kind of sentiment too. I've seen that a lot on Twitter now. Like AOC like stands are like, oh, you don't understand things. You're not like up here with us. You can't get it. But what has she done? You know, you said you don't like Pelosi. All right, you don't have to beg for a floor vote for Medicare for all. That's fine. Just don't vote for Pelosi at all.
Facts. Exactly.
She's a roadblock. Why would you even vote for her? Period. That
on
was my
principle. Yeah, on principle, you shouldn't be voting for her.
Right. And Ricky brought up a great point. Like AOC doesn't have to say anything. All her fans run for cover for her all the time. I don't just get it on Twitter. I also get it in person too. It's crazy. Really? She like Ricky will tell you like we're like Jackson Heights. I live in Jackson Heights, so that's like AOC in the Lion's Den. That's her district, right? Okay. So protesting there is like almost like a death trap because it's hard to move those people. Like, what are you talking about? AOC is amazing. How dare you even say anything about her? You know what I mean?
She's a woman of color. She's a woman of color.
Stop. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, before we get into too much AOC bashing, I'd like to point out that New York and Jackson Heights, they said the same thing about AOC's predecessor. I forget his name. Prior to him Crowley, prior to him getting challenged. Like, why would you?
Right.
So I mean, if they can get away from Crowley, I believe they can get away from AOC.
True, that's facts. I agree with that. I just think that now we're in an era of cult of personality with politicians. I think that probably started with Obama. Obama was first. Then you got Trump. Now you got AOC. I think that's kind of like politics is now religion almost in a weird way.
I feel like Trump was kind of like. See, it was like with AOC, people fell in love with her because of her ideas. Where with Trump, it was literally like, I'm not going to front. The guy's hilarious, bro. Like that was one of the reasons that attracted.
I even tell people I'm as left as it come, but I was like, I have a sense of humor. I'm like, that's funny. Trump's funny. I just agree with it, but he's hilarious. That's
especially the whole Rosie O'Donnell gag.
Right, it's so stupid.
Oh my God.
Sure, it's so dumb.
Yeah, so yeah, but definitely like Trump has definitely done that, and even without his Twitter, I'm just gonna go to this real quick. I find it funny. This motherfucker created an office as a president in Florida, dude. Like, and basically makes all these Republican like politicians basically come down there and kiss the ring and shit because it's still his party. Still his party, like clearly.
Right,
so
it is his party.
So yeah, but I definitely agree with you. But it's like. One of the things I talk about, that comes to mind all the time. Like people like to talk about rappers all the time. Like you guys are from New York, so 6ix9ine, like everybody likes to call him clout chaser and everything. There is no bigger clout chaser than a fucking politician, bro. In my opinion, there will never be a bigger clout chaser than a politician. And you can tell now, like especially somebody like AOC, she was really good. She put on a good show, and now I'm not trying to turn into a crap on AOC fest and everything because honestly I'm trying to stop talking about her on the channel. But it's like seeing her go from talking so passionately about this shit to now just giving like bullshit word salads like that the Jewish conference or whatever she just talked at where she literally you are literally Obama. You said nothing in like 5 minutes. I've never the only person I've ever seen do that was Obama.
Well, the thing is that too, like a lot of people said the same thing you say too. Even I said that, we got to stop talking about AOC, but it's hard because we feel betrayed. A lot of people don't want to say that, but we do. Like, because she literally came out guns blazing. She inspired us to be more leftist. You know what I mean? And then now she's backpedaling on all the things she inspired us to do.
And she inspired people to stay in the Democratic Party that wasn't serving them. That's the real crime.
That is
oh guys, why are you leaving the party? I'm here. I'm gonna save you guys. That was kind of her attitude. Because when you're with me, we're gonna start a ruckus. We're gonna fight. We're gonna do protests. Nah.
Right.
She duped people.
She definitely duped people. And we gotta be honest about it too. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So. Kind of not necessarily switching gears, but kind of to, I guess, a different politician, because this actually just came to mind. I just thought about this. So, and obviously in your fight for single payer and everything, do y'all, and New York specifically with Andrew Yang running, do y'all see him as an ally? Like, how do you guys feel about Yang there in New York?
Yang is he. I don't think Yang is even running on his thoughts on single payer. I'm pretty sure in some way he's gonna include his UBI in some form and for New York. So that'd be good. But at the same time, there's an asterisk with that UBI. I don't think that's gonna be. I don't think ultimately that's gonna be a good thing. I think it's gonna ultimately be a bad thing because something me and Ricky been talking about this too. I think that's alluding to more of smart cities, for sure.
Yeah. So first of all, it's not a UBI anymore. It was UBI when he was running for president. As mayor, it's a BI. It's a basic income. It's only for the poorest people. And judging by the way New York City looks right now, the poorest people don't have jobs. So
Right.
it's like a lifeline. Like it's not a living. It's just like and it's only a couple $1,000s a year.
Right.
$2,000 on average per person for the poorest, like 500,000 New Yorkers. So it's like, if you're going to automate everything, $2,000 means nothing.
Right.
To be honest. So first of all, that's kind of a gimmick, in my opinion. It doesn't address like a lot of major issues.
You can't live here. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't live. No one can live in New York anymore. That's just not. It's not a thing. Like you can't get an apartment here.
It has to become sustainable, or there's going to be no economy. So
right,
you have to figure it out, or it's going to collapse. But as far as like healthcare goes, I don't think he supports the New York Health Act. I've been waiting for him to go into more detail about like healthcare. He has like an idea to give, everyone doulas. And I'm like, doulas for all is cool, but like, we need like, healthcare. Like,
right.
These ideas are kind of weird, dude. Like the New York Health Act is a single payer. It's like our local version of Medicare for all here. For the first time in the history of this bill, it has support from both the Assembly and the Senate. It could go through. There is a chance, but knowing the Democratic Party, they'll find a way to be like, oh, we couldn't do it because of such and such, even though the majority of the Assembly and Senate want it. They'll figure out a way to shoot.
They're gonna pull a Biden. We couldn't do it because of the thing.
Oh, the $15 an hour. Like they'll pull something out of nowhere that makes this job that we didn't know exists. This person says we can't do it because of this. And it's like, oh, get out of here. So I don't think Yang, he's the front runner for mayor. I don't think he even supports single payer. Why are all these people voting for this dude who doesn't even he's running on, all right, this is his thing. He's running on anti-poverty. He wants to be the anti-poverty capitalist, right? He's going to pull people out of extreme poverty. And what's the number one reason why people file for bankruptcy in America?
Healthcare.
Medical debt.
Yep.
Medical debt. And he does not openly support the New York Health Act.
Jesus Christ.
Tell me that's not the biggest red flag you've ever seen in your life.
That is, especially when you said anti-poverty capitalist. That's like having an anti-murdering serial killer. Like it just does, it doesn't go together. It doesn't make sense. So I don't. Yeah, that's wow. I really, even during his, when he ran, for office and everything, I think Jimmy Dore pushed him on this, like about single payer, because he wasn't even for Medicare for all then. He was like giving like bullshit word salads and everything. Like, right. Oh my God, man. And that's kind of like where I see we need like, and I guess I'll get you guys' opinion on this as well. Like, do you think, this should be a national fight or, state by state and city by city and things like that? Because from what you guys just described, it seems almost impossible, state by state as well.
Yeah,
definitely. The healthcare, the UBI.
Healthcare. Sorry about that.
Healthcare should definitely be national for sure. I think the three biggest cities right now for the play for state by state is whole Washington State, New York, and California. I'm pretty sure even they would prefer a national system as well. But as it stands right now, they think the best path forward is state by state. But I disagree. I think we should definitely push national all the way. Don't take it lying down. I think that's what the plan is to kind of roll it out slowly. And I don't think that should be the case. We don't have time for that. That should have happened 10 years ago, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'll just go right head into it. You guys are going to be doing Medicare for All March in DC. So if you could just tell us all a little bit about that, just the logistics of it, the inspiration behind it, all that. If you could just, go into that.
Yeah, inspiration really started from the fact that me and Ricky met on the Force to Vote Slack. And I met them there because I actually I wanted to talk to them about what are their strategies, what are their plans, what are they going to do. Same thing with Moving for a People's Party, the same thing with a lot of different organizations. I was trying to figure out a way, okay, Force to Vote failed, okay, what's the next path forward, what are we going to do? And I didn't get any answer that I liked, to be honest with you. Not shitting on any organization. I just feel that the best path, I feel like the only path forward is a march. Ricky and I was already protesting AOC's office, and we both was talking about a march. And I was even talking about a march on the Slack. And we both said that we got to reach out to different people. So I started reaching out to different people on the Medicare for All Slack, and also for the Move for the People Party Slack. So we got some few people who's with us who are part of Moving for People Party, who were on Force to Vote Slack, some people who are from Green Party. So we have different people from different groups, so to speak, who are with us. And so that's how it really got started. And then we meet weekly to talk and to strategize about what's the how we're going to plan this march out. So that's how it really got started, because it really came from the fact that no one had an answer. No one had a viable answer that was the best path forward for this. Everyone's still talking about door knocking and writing letters and making phone calls. And okay, but what else is there? No one's in the office. No one's answering the phone. They're always there already. That AOC's office, she's never there. So now what? What are we going to do? So every answer I got led me back to a march, because no one's answering the phone call. No one's answering the email. No one's answering anything. They're ignoring us. And so I feel that a march is the best path forward, because no one's answering anyone. And this is why we even started getting traction from other organizations, because they're starting to realize that. They're starting to give up, and they're starting to reach out to us as well.
Wow. Yeah, man. It's kind of I feel like everybody's been, especially like people on the left, have just been like completely beaten down by everything that's happened. Honestly, like, I trace it all the way back to when Bernie just dropped out personally. Like that's when the slump started. But man, that's just crazy to see. So actually being out, so I was just actually recently out in DC and everything, and our president was out there when I went out there, so I got to see him from a distance. But just walking through DC, like, you definitely, like, once you go to like certain parts of DC, like away from like just like the National Mall and everything, you just kind of see like very, basically everything you're seeing around the country. So I definitely feel like a march is going to invigorate something, as and one of the things I remember us talking about last time you and Shelly were on was about a general strike. So how do you guys feel about that? Where are you at on that right now? If you could just answer to that.
That's next too. Our team and I haven't really gotten into pretty much details, but again, Ricky and I, me and Ricky talk about the most in our group when it comes to things like this. But we both felt that a march will have to happen first. You got to build coalition. It's, people still don't know us. You got to get people to know you, like, and trust you. So I can't say, let's go out there and general strike, and people don't know who the fuck I am. You know what I mean? And so
there'll be a lot of promotion at the march for the general strike and the direct democracy. Yes. And that way we can go forward from there. And that way we can explain on that big day of movement of what's going on.
Yes.
There's a lot of organizing with that.
Yes, Shelly's point is 1,000% correct. 1,000% correct. She's on point, because we got to get people to know us, like us, and trust us. We got to build more coalitions. We got to network with more people. We got to meet us. You got to break bread with people. Literally, eat, drink, conversate. I want to really get out there in the street, not just to protest, but also to build relationship with people. So, this guy is serious. This guy is real. He's not, he's not a bad faith actor. They're really serious about making sure Americans have healthcare. And so the more you see us out there, this is why I want to do more protests, not because I want to just apply pressure, but I also want to build more of our connection with different people, so people can join us, people can actually ask us more questions. And so we're out there in DC, there was I know that guy. You know what I mean? So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, general strikes are hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they trend they trend on Twitter. If you want to get the hashtag trending, not that hard. But if you actually want to get a real strike going, it's much more difficult. And you have to build momentum. You have to go from protest to protest to protest to building something bigger and pulling more people in. And I think Medicare for All is a good one to pull a lot of people in because it's nonpartisan. It really is not a partisan issue. Most Democrats and independents easily support Medicare for All, and a lot of Republicans do too, and probably will more so after this mess of a pandemic, right? So I think we can build some momentum towards that, but it takes planning as well. A lot of people are like, let's just strike, but like you're not, thinking. First of all, Americans are pretty apathetic about a lot of things, especially politics. I think people are more into politics now, but it's like the CNN, Fox News version where it's just like headlines. It's not really like engaged in politics. When it comes to actually doing stuff, a lot of Americans are apathetic. So you have to like really get them involved, which is really hard actually in this country. It's also a very big country, and to mobilize this many people through this many states is very, very hard. And we always forget about like people's needs too. Like some people can't just like shut down. They have like kids to feed, they have people to take care of. So if we don't have these, we don't have some kind of mutual aid system set up, so like someone can watch the kids or take care of grandma or whatever the situation is, like this ain't gonna work out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's the biggest thing that we're working on right now is putting together a mutual aid system for people to get resources where they need to be. Because as you know, in June, a lot of people are going to be homeless. So it's what are the implications of that? What are the people that are working and are homeless or not working already? What are the implications of that? What are people willing to sacrifice? And this seems like a very small thing, but a big thing. Where are people going to shower if they're not working and they're homeless?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, right. I guess when this eviction moratorium is just lifted and these Democrats who are like, oh, we need to have a housing guarantee, instead of saying, no, let's cancel rent, you fucking idiots.
Right.
If you don't cancel rent, everyone's going to be homeless all at the same time. I mean, right. that would be the biggest inspiration for a general strike. I don't know. That might backfire on them. So.
It's unconstitutional, Ricky, to force a landlord to not charge their tenants rent. It's not right.
Yeah. It's not right to tell people they can't go to work.
So stupid.
Exactly.
And they still have to pay rent.
Exactly. So
that's
dumb.
Pretty unconstitutional. So,
right.
Oh, you can't go to work, but guess what? You still have to pay rent. Good luck getting unemployment with our archaic system. That's archaic on purpose.
Right.
Yeah, dude. Even in Delaware here, dude. Like I recently, like I lost my job and everything, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I found something else, but it's like for like almost a month, like I was out of a job. I filed for unemployment, still have not gotten back to me yet. Sorry. Yeah, it's like what the fuck? Like, all right, whatever.
Yep.
Thank God, like I got my tax returns back, so I'm like, I was able to live off that for a while. Thank God for that, but.
Yeah, if you're not in the system, it's really hard to get because when I got last year wasn't the first time I actually filed for unemployment, so I was already in the system already. Mm-hmm. So I was like one of the people who got unemployment very quickly. You know what I mean? Because again, I was already in the system. The system in New York already knew. I already had an account set up, everything. I had all that stuff already. So it was like a simple process. They knew my bank information, all that stuff was already done. So it's really hard because a lot of people, that happened in New York too. A lot of people just got their stimulus late, got their unemployment late. And these are stories you don't even really hear unless you talk to someone about that. You don't hear that. You don't report it in the news. Obviously, they're not going to.
Yeah. I used to be on the rugged individualism train. Like I'm gonna thug it out. I'm not, I don't need no help from the government. I don't need unemployment, this and that. But like, learning more about like, just how helpful these things could be, like asking for help when you need help. And I feel like that's kind of what the government was telling us, basically, like, fuck you, don't ask us for help in your most dire need. And it's like, I'm glad my eyes have been open this time around, because like I would hate to be still that guy even now. Like I hear, some people around me and everything, my friends and everything, still saying this shit where it's like, dude, they're like people like literally dying in the streets right now. Like this system's not working right now. It needs to be changed.
I got friends like that too from college, who they live in a bubble. They was born in Midtown, and they just think that people are just lazy. They have a boomer brain. I mean, they're not boomers, but they have that boomer mentality. And so it's like when your worldview is, oh, that's your fault, you did it because you don't want to get a job, you're lazy, you know what I mean? And like, and so that's why people have that attitude, and that's the problem.
And that's one of the things. So one of the things I remember, me and you were talking about, on the phone and everything, was about how do you, convey this message to like people who are apolitical or people who are conservative, but so what is one of the, what is you guys' strategy for like explaining it to somebody who hasn't heard it before, that, not necessarily like, oh, fuck Medicare for all, they're not decided, but it's like they're kind of on the fence. Like, what is the mechanism to do that? Because I have my strategy, but I just wanted to hear what you guys would usually do in those situations.
Yeah, I have a strategy too. So I was talking to one of our organizers, Sean, earlier about this too, about that. Not everybody is like a bad faith actor who, like I have friends of mine, like I said, who I went to college with. I went to LaGuardia Community College, and believe it or not, you do have people who do come, who have some money, who come from some sort of wealth, who do go to community college. And so I have friends of mine, like I said, and they have this kind of same mentality. And because we drink together, we're friends, we went to school together, I can have these discussions with them, and they're not going to just shoot me away. So I constantly keep talking to them about the same issue. And I think the more they hear it, and because I'm not being condescending, and I'm not saying that, oh, you're wrong in the issues and you're an idiot, and how come you don't know this? It's on the news, just look it up, read a book, it's there. And I think that because I don't do that, I'm able to get them to listen. I think too many times on the left, we assume that everybody knows these issues, and that people who don't, they're pretending not to know, and that they're ignorant. And some of that is true, for sure. They're choosing not to read stuff, but also to understand that also goes the other way, because do you read things that you disagree with? Most people don't. You know what I mean? Like, I read books that fit my worldview. I'm not going to read anything. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't read anything that goes against my personal beliefs. So you have to understand those people are the same way. So the best way to get those people to come to your side is to guide their hand and not, belittle them and treat them like shit, but just let them know, like, listen, when you're ready, the information's there. You can read it, and I'll go over it with you again. And this is why my position I feel is correct, and why I feel that position is wrong. And I feel that doesn't usually happen. Usually it gets into an argument, obviously, and it gets all nasty and stuff like that. Kind of very similar to how discussions get with my aunt, because my aunt, she doesn't want to hear this. You know what I mean? But like, I talk to her again and go over the fact this is why my position is correct and why I think your position is wrong. But again, it takes time, and it depends on like who you want to talk to. Like some stranger on the street, obviously you're not going to talk to that person. But friends and family, people you do love and people you do have that personal connection with, who are not politically on your same side as you, it is going to take time to pull those people over, because it's not as easy as say, this is right, just do it.
And I can definitely personally attest to that, because like I said at the top of the show, one of the issues I've completely like switched my stance on is China. And honestly, like, it was Jimmy Dore would have Danny Haifong on a lot and everything. And I remember when I first watched the episode, he started talking. I was like, oh, he talking this China bullshit. All right, I gotta turn this shit off. He tripping right now. But it's like, I'm one of those people that once it gets in my mind and I hear logic, I have to hear logic and reason. I was like, all right, let me read into this shit. I started reading, resources from Max Blumenthal, from Danny Haifong. It's another dude, I forget what his name is, that talks about it a lot too. And like completely switched my position to the point where like my same friend, I talk politics with him and everything all the time. He's more conservative. He gets mad at me all the time because I'll send him like articles and everything about like, dude, you should probably read into this because they're kind of lying to you about shit. But it's like, that's what I find fascinating, is like how, like, starting off, people are definitely like, oh, fuck that, I'm not trying to hear that. But like, people genuinely crave like the unknown. It's just, their reaction to the unknown is very different, and everything like that. So that's one of the things I think, you know, the march is going to do, you know, do well and everything, is that like you're going to reach like people like my mom. Like my mom works in DC and everything, so like when she's walking to work, she sees like a whole bunch of like, you know, diverse people, like, you know, black, white, everything, young, old, walking down the street protesting or something. She's one of those people that's going to stop like, what's this, and change her mind. My mom's a Hillary thumper, so it's like that's going on. Like, please save her, please. You know, can we make a pit stop at her job, please? I'm just kidding at this point, but I still love you, Mom. But yeah, that's one of the things I feel like, you know, like protest, you know, have the power to do that, you know, have the power to reach people that, you know, like the hot dog vendor on the street, you know, just random people. So I think that's something that's going to be dope about, you know, the march and everything. So I guess one of the final questions I'll have to ask is, you know, me and Shareef were talking on the phone previously just about how like we both come from different backgrounds. Like, you know, Shareef was talking about how he's in the film, you know, I was telling you guys how I'm in the music and everything. So, and we kind of stumbled into, you know, our roles in this and everything. So what would you say to the person who's still, you know, who's watching right now, who is unsure about their role? What can they do? What would you say to those people?
I'll let Ricky answer this first, actually.
Me?
Yeah, I think he'll have a good answer. I think he'll have a better answer than I would.
Their role in what exactly? In politics, in direct action, or just getting involved?
Well, politics, yeah, but specifically the single payer fight, you know, the fight for healthcare. Like, what, you know, if they're recently getting into this, hearing about, you know, this from whether it's from Bernie or whatever politician, like, okay, they're not fighting for it. What can I do now to continue to fight? What would you recommend, you know, the starting path for those people to help in this fight for single payer?
Well, first and foremost, we are doing a DC March, July 24th. Check out m4all.org. That's M, the number 4, M, the number 4, all.org. Come to Washington, D.C. If not there, we're going to have a second march. We're going to do 2 marches on the same day. We're going to have one in Los Angeles as well. So we're planning that right now as well. And if you can't make those, we're also going to encourage people to do car caravans. And when the details for the marches are more concrete, we're going to help people set up car caravans locally so they can do this in their own town in solidarity. You know, there's no arrest risk. It's something you can do on the cheap. You can do it in your car, so there's no COVID risk really. So it's something we want to do so people can participate if they can't make it to these marches or are too scared to risk, you know, the virus or whatever. I think those are some great options. Also highlight, you know, go to your reps' offices, you know, go to your senator, go to your congressperson and see if there's anyone there. If there's no one there, record it, share it. I think people need to start sharing this. You know, they've abandoned us, you know, all the things they ran on, they don't even talk about anymore. Everything Biden ran on, he like is backtracking on basically, you know. Oh, I might, you know, erase some of your, you know, student, you know, debt. Oh, maybe I won't. $15 an hour. You know, everything is.
Both of my senators voted down the minimum wage. Chris Coons and Tom Carper. Both of my, and I believe my representative as well.
That's crazy. Ridiculous.
So I think it's time to highlight how they've just kind of abandoned us in the middle of this COVID-19 madness. It's ridiculous, and share that. We should all be sharing that. We should stop protecting these politicians, even if they're our politician and they're our political party. We need to start calling out our people. You know, that's why I stopped even like focusing on Republicans. I'm like, they're not representing me here in New York, and I wasn't voting for them anyways. It doesn't matter, you know. Like,
well, Ricky, you're advocating violence. That's violence.
I'm a red, brown, fascist, Nazi, or whatever.
Hey, man, bro, watch out for you get a visit from Capitol Police, bro.
Right.
I probably will eventually, you know, especially after this march. They'll pull out the camera and start taking pictures. I've seen that before. I was at Force to Vote, man. They were taking pictures of us. So
really?
they might pull out an old picture of me, you know, holding my sign on, you know, the steps of one of the congressional buildings because I was standing up there while people were giving speeches with my sign. I had my mask on, so maybe they won't recognize me. But yeah, maybe they'll pull out a picture and be like, "Is that the guy? Oh yeah, that's probably the guy that was here force
Funny
the
thing
vote.
about that, allegedly, that's one of the reasons why at the time as well. It's kind of, I don't know how true it is. One of the reasons why Fauci at the time was saying not to wear masks was because they weren't able to pick people up on the facial recognition software. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's funny that smart cities are going to have all this facial recognition technology, but we're coming out of this pandemic where masks were like pushed by Dr. Fauci. I'm kind of liking the mask idea for that purpose rather than
Right.
rather than this COVID shit. No, I just want to be anonymous all the time now.
Now, look, I take COVID seriously, but like my previous job, I was working in a warehouse where it's like almost 100 people at one point in there, and it's like, dude, if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. Fuck it, I'm going to like. I know a lot of my fans been out like this. I still go out to the bars. I still go out, live my life and everything, especially in Delaware. Like they're kind of laxed at certain places and everything. So it's like I understand if you're, skeptic, if you're afraid of the virus and everything. But it's like I just look at it like you gotta realize like some people just like, especially workers, didn't have a choice through this whole thing. Like workers at Amazon, Walmart. Like my homie tells me all the time, he said, dude, it's like I wear my mask because my boss like literally yells at me every time. But it's like there's no fucking point where there's like I'm sitting here like loading my aisle and there's like 15 people in my fucking aisle. Like if somebody has that shit, I'm gonna get it. Like
no, seriously, my girlfriend works at Amazon too, and she says the exact same thing. Like she wears a mask, hand sanitizer. There's no practicing social distancing at Amazon. That doesn't. I don't care what Jeff Bezos says. I don't care what anybody says that work there. They're lying.
I can tell you, I worked there like during like previously before I got the job I had. I was working there. Literally, there was somebody that was sick, and they like he was asking to go home, and they were literally going to fire him if he went home because he didn't have any more time. Yeah. It's crazy. And he's like standing over me coughing and everything. I'm like, yo, you need to back up, bro. I know you said but back. I'm one of those people. I hear you got back up off me, bro.
I mean, the benefit of, in a weird way, now at your job, because even my job does the same thing. The moment you say you're sick, okay, you can go home. Before, I could never do that. Could never do that at my job. I have the same job that I had since 2017. And before, there was a problem if I actually wanted to take off from work. Now, because of COVID, I can tell, you want to take off from work? Go ahead. Take off. How many days you want off? Go ahead. Because now they don't want to pay people anyway. So that's why they're allowing you to stay home.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy, man.
It's crazy that Amazon's like a super spreader, but because, Bezos bought the Washington Post and because Amazon has contracts with the U.S. government, it's not going to be about, these major corporations being the super spreaders. It's going to be about the anti-maskers.
Right.
Which is kind of absurd,
it's kind of a joke, but it's like, why are we allowing a guy who literally looks like Lex Luthor work with the CIA, buy one of the most like prolific newspapers out there, and run basically this giant sweatshop in fucking America? These are three things we've allowed this guy to do.
That's the signal. He is Lex Luthor. That's the problem.
He is Lex Luthor. He's gonna pop out with like a mech suit and like just start like wrecking people. All right, so I guess those are all the questions I have, man. I really like this is a dope show, man. As always, it was a pleasure to have you guys on. Ricky, it was a pleasure meeting you, man. Like I'm fired up about this protest. I told Shareef I'm gonna be, I'm definitely going to be there, but I'm gonna try to get there to cover it as well, like do like live, reporting on the ground and everything. So I'm really looking forward to this thing, man. Like I said, I think this is gonna be good, just from a lot of angles. And this is needed right now. Honestly, this is needed, and I think it's going to uplift a lot of people who have been feeling down. And definitely, Shelly, your direct democracy idea, man. I think about that literally when I'm recording. Sometimes I stop and I'm thinking about if something like that, like I've been reading more about Mike Gravel and everything. Yeah, like just. Somebody's making I forgot whose show they were talking about him on. They're about to make a documentary about him because I didn't know, like back in the day, he read the Pentagon Papers into the congressional record because like Congress, I think they were trying to like avoid it or something. He read like directly sat down and read the Pentagon Papers into congressional records so it could go into the record. So just learning more about his history and everything. But the overall direct democracy, like I told my mom about the idea. It's something that the people would be on board for, and along with blockchain technology to assist with it. So you guys are like literally drop new nuggets of knowledge in my mind every time you come on here, man. I really appreciate it. And I definitely feel the audience appreciates it as well.
Glad to assist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So if you guys want to, just go ahead, shout out your social media and everything. I'm going to link descriptions below with everything. So just, send me the information afterwards and I'll link below. But if you want to shout it out, go ahead.
Well, the March is M4 All on Twitter. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram if you fancy those. M4 All. If you, Facebook.com/M4 All or M4 All on Instagram as well. I'm Ricky Rants on Twitter and YouTube. That's Ricky Rants with an exclamation point for the I, all one word. You can find me that way. Yeah.
And Shareef Snuggs, you can find me on Twitter. It's at I am for Medicare for All. That's at I am for the number 4 for Medicare for All.
Oh, and I'm Mrs. Carter, and you can find me on Twitter at Mrs. Carter0804. And there's just a bunch of stuff about direct democracy and the March for Medicare for All.
All right. You already know me. I'm Bendu, American Autopsy. And this has been Tox Talk. Thanks for tuning in.